West Coast, and we are here live on this Monday. So if you are over here on Beadaholique or you're on YouTube or Facebook right now, this is live. We are here, this is happening, and we have a fun, long-awaited show today. So what we're gonna be doing is flat Kumihimo. So flat Kumihimo uses a square disc as opposed to your round disc. So we've done a couple Kumihimo shows before using the round disc, which produces a round braid. Oh, hello, Teresa and Giggles and Jill. Hello, Annie. Yay, you're here. Great. So if you've seen our other shows or watched the YouTube videos, Kumihimo is super fun. Like, it's just a great braiding technique. And you're probably most familiar with the round braid that it creates, and that is using the round disc. Now, oh, hello, Liz and Monique and Tanya and Tazia. Hello. So we are switching things up, and we are now using the square disc to create a flat braid with beads. So, oh, and hello, Tracy. So I want to show you my sample swatch because we're basically going to be recreating the sample swatch in the show here. So you have all the different techniques down that you need to know. And you could, of course, make this into a necklace, a bracelet, a wrap bracelet, whatever you want to do. Hello, Hazel and Karen and Janet and Fern. Hello. So here is what flat, and I'm going to put my camera down in a minute, but here's what flat Kumihimo looks like. It literally is flat. So you can see that is flat. And then you can add beads. And I thought, well, we can't do a show showing how to do flat Kumihimo without also showing how to add beads. So we are doing, this is a mouthful, beaded 10 warp flat Kumihimo braiding today. So we have a big show. I'm also going to show you how to finish your ends because I can't not. We got to be able to show how to finish the braid and turn it into a piece of jewelry as well. So a ton to cover today. It's going to be really fun. Hello, Lisa from Pennsylvania. Hello. Oh my gosh, I see Tracy's here. Monica from Rhode Island. Oh my gosh, and I see Susan J from Seattle. Good. I see a lot of people saying they've been looking forward to this show. That's wonderful. I will do my best to answer all the questions because I know flat Kumihimo is very different from regular Kumihimo. Regular Kumihimo is basically up, down, rotate, and repeat. Flat Kumihimo, you're gonna see, it's a bit more complicated. It's like down, left, right, up. And so you'll see this, and there's no rotation involved. So it is a very different technique, but I'm gonna walk you through it. I'll try to go really slow. If you have any questions, let me know. And I see we have the best crowd here today. Hello, guys. I see Tina's here and Janet C. I haven't been able to say hello to everybody. I've been talking because I've been so excited for this show. So this is gonna be really fun. Oh, and Betty's saying she's been looking forward to this class. Wonderful. Well, if we have anybody who is joining us for the first time, before I get going, I want to share a few details about how this works. If you are here on Beadaholique, like Robin, like Aisha, comment, ask questions. I can read them. If they go too fast or something I can't answer, we have Michelle here, we have Eric here, they can help answer too. So we can provide links to other videos, links to resource guides, all that type of stuff. We can answer product questions, technique questions. So you have to be here live on Beadaholique for us to see those comments live. So if you are over on YouTube or you're on Facebook right now, welcome. Definitely, we love that you're here. Just know that I can't see your comments live. So if you're asking a question, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see it. But there is a link in your video, and I think Eric usually tries to put a link in the comments that will take you over here to Beadaholique, and then when you say something or ask a question, I can see it and hopefully help answer a question, or we can design together. We always play, we always have fun, so it's really great. Oh, and we also have, I love it, Michelle just reminded me here, we have Thaisa here today who is joining us, helping us, and she is also gonna help answer questions. So we've got Michelle, Eric, and Thaisa here, so always have such a good crew. It's always, everyone's so nice. Hello, Kathy. Okay, and Santa Barbara girl, hello. So, oh, thank you for my earrings. It's those cushion rounds. I still love them because they really show up from a distance. All right, another, what is the warp and is the gator weight used? Yes, so we're doing 10 warp, so 10 strands, and we are gonna use the gator weight. And I would say the gator weight is even more important in flat than in round, and you're gonna see why. It's because the braid kind of ends up going like this as you're doing it, and that gator weight holds the tension. Now, if you don't have a gator weight, you can make your own weight. You can take a little bag of pennies, put it on like a paper clip, or a binder clip, I should say. So you can make your own weight. If you do a lot of kumihimo, this is really handy because we also use this for another step in here where we're gonna pinch our braid as we take it off of the disc. So these are really nice if you do a lot of kumihimo, but you don't have to have them. You could do like a little weighted bag of pennies as well. And I see we already have some questions, so that is wonderful. Ask away. We're gonna take this step by step and really be able to, teach and conquer flat kumihimo. All right, a couple other quick notes before we get going. There is a little heart icon. If you click it, it gives me floaty hearts. It lets me know you like what you see. There's an arrow, which is a share. So if you want to share this with your friends. All of these shows are saved and archived. So once we finish up today, once we say goodbye, just wait a few minutes and then you can watch the replay. So if you want to go back and be like, wait, did she say the 4 to the 14 or what did she say? You can always go back and rewatch, pause, so you're good. We are having our store closing process and sale. So the good thing about that is everything is 40% off right now. We often get questions if our videos will stay. And yes, the videos are gonna stay available on YouTube. So this learning library that we've created over the last 20 years is still gonna be there and accessible even once Beadaholique is officially closed and the website is no longer. But until then, everything is 40% off, which is great. And if you wanna see anything that I am using in my show today, is in the shopping bag. So if you see the little shopping bag icon, click on that. That takes you to like a gallery of everything I'm using. You can see the size, the color, the price. You can even add it to your shopping cart. So that's your resource guide, is that shopping bag. All right, I think I got this. What's the difference between Eslon and 1G? Great question. I have both, so I can show you. This here is Eslon, and this is Eslon size 18. It is a pretty thick cord. We're gonna be using it today. So you can see this, it's a nice big spool. This is 1G. 1G is more like a sewing thread. If you're familiar with more of like a sewing thread, it's very soft, it's very flexible. We can use it for our warp threads and weft threads for loom work. You can also use it for bead embroidery, things like this. And then this is your Eslon, which is a much more substantial cord. Great question though. What do you do when the beads fit over the cord, but not with a needle and end keeps fraying? Okay, what do you do when the beads fit over the cord, okay, but not with a needle and the end keeps fraying? Okay, I gotcha. You can make a glue needle. So if you don't so let's say your bead hole is a little small to be able to go double. Like let's say if you put a twisted wire needle on this, you're essentially doubling this here as it goes through. And if you just want to pick up your beads with your Eslon, you can either paint clear nail polish on it and let it dry, or just a little bit of even like white glue, like white tacky glue or something like that. You can kind of smoosh into there, let it dry. It creates like a glue needle, and then it's stiffer and it won't fray. So that's a tip for if you want to pick it up. I'm usually pretty good at being able to get size 8 Toho rounds onto Eslon size 18. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Those are kind of like really easy. They play nicely together. So that's what we're going to be doing. You can always cut your tip a little by little too. If you want to cut yourself a little extra cord, you get a ton. I don't remember how many yards, but you get a ton on these spools. So if you want to cut it a little extra long, and then as your tip frays, you can always cut it down little by little and then not use up the stuff that you actually needed. But those are great questions. So I know we're going to have a lot of fun today. And we're going to answer a lot of questions too, because this is a little more unique or a little bit different than the round. I think that there's a lot of projects out there with the round. There's a lot of videos with the round. We've done a lot of projects that you can see, but we really haven't done as much with the square and the flat. So I'm kind of thinking that there might be a little bit more questions. So ask away and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you, Ellen. Okay. I am going to, oh, and Karen's saying there's 77 yards on here. So it's a lot. You don't have, if you need to cut a little extra and then cut it down, you should be good. Okay, I'm gonna flip my camera down. Can you use it looks like SLI. I'm not really familiar with that one, what that is. You can use a lot of different cords and ribbons with this. I'm gonna be using Eslon. You can use Amiot. You can use other types of cords too. I've even seen people do beautiful like ribbon, like actual like silk ribbon, black Kumihimo as well. So you can really play with your materials on this one. All right, I'm gonna flip the camera down and I'm gonna be playing with my camera a lot today. It's gonna go up and down so we can see all angles. All right, I wanna show you what we're gonna be working with. I wanna also show you the sample swatch up close too. All right. Let's see, I'm going to show you everything we're gonna be playing with today. So here is my sample swatch. So we're basically going to be recreating this. Here is the flat braid without beads. So this is a standard 10 warp flat braid without beads. Here is that same braid with beads added on the outside edge. Now there is a way of adding them to the inside. I cannot remember exactly how you do it. We might have a video on it. I think we made some kits here at Beadaholique that had inside beads for flat Kumihimo. So if you watch that kit video, you can learn that technique. Oh, thank you, Karen. Okay, and so then here it goes back to flat when we finish it off. And I'm finishing it off with black thread because I wanted you to be able to see on camera it like a nice contrast. You would pick your thread that matches your cords. So you can use any colors you want, any beads you want. Again, these are Toho size 8/0 round, so a really nice standard size. I'm going to use these two colors because I find it much easier to understand what is happening if you have two different colors. And then I'm going to use purple beads on the purple cord and turquoise beads on the turquoise, just to make life a little easier so we can see clearly what's going on. Oh, hello, Lisa. We are doing flat Kumihimo today. All right, so when you make your project, you're going to need your cord. So you could also use Amiot. Amiot comes in a lot of really pretty colors. It's very similar to Eslon. So you can use Amiot, you can use Eslon. This is size 18. You can use cube beads, you can use hex beads, you can use different sizes of beads. You know, you can really play around with what you want to use. Oh, hello, Sandra. So this is just a jumping off point. This is kind of your let's get started. We know these all work really well together, but you can use it as a jumping off place and then really play. Okay, so if you were wanting to make a 7-inch bracelet, you would be cutting yourself, you would be using 12 beads on each strand, and you would be cutting yourself, I believe it's 25 inches. Yes, 25 inches. I took a few little notes before we started here. So you would be using 25 inches on each bobbin, and you would do 12 beads on each bobbin. So here's your bobbin. It's the same bobbins that we used for our round kumi, but you need 10 of them. So like here, if we go back to our round, if I find it, these are your standard 8 warp round Kumihimo braids. So they used 8 bobbins. This is going to be a 10 warp. So this is what we're going to be doing here today with the 10. So you'll need 10 plastic bobbins. For a 7-inch bracelet, you'll need 25 inches of cord and 12 beads on each one. So what I've done ahead of time is I've already gone ahead and preloaded 9 of my bobbins with the cord and bead, just to save a little time, because it is a little bit time consuming. So I'm going to kind of sort through here real quick. So I have a couple extra beads in the shopping bag. Some of them I have here on my table, but just to show you, you can add a metallic element if you want with like this nickel. This is a rainbow, what is this? This is gold lined rainbow crystal. You can do like this deep dark bronze, which kind of looks like a mahogany. You can add like this if you want gold. So you can really play around with your bead choices to add like a metallic end. edge to it, or you can match your beads to your cord, which is what I'm going to be doing today. So I did put some other really pretty colors there in the shopping bag just to kind of help guide a little bit and show the variety, but you can definitely pick whatever color beads you want, whatever color cord you want. Yes, I do believe 10 warp is the smallest number of warps you can use. It's the one that I learned how to do, and it actually does not make that big of a braid. So it sounds like a lot, but it's a pretty petite braid. I'd say this is about 6 millimeters because it matches and it fits a 6 millimeter clasp. So, oh no, Beverly, she's saying I got kicked out trying to exit the shopping bag. Oh no. Maybe Michelle can help with that. She's really good at troubleshooting that stuff. So as far as I know, 10 warp is the smallest, but you know what? I always am amazed. There's so many different ways of doing things. I wouldn't be surprised if someone has come up with a way of doing a smaller number of warps as well. I've even heard you can do round braids on the square disc. I haven't tried that, but I've heard that too. So there's definitely more than one way of doing things. Okay, so let's go ahead and load the last bobbin, and then we're going to talk about the actual disc itself, and then we're going to start to do our Kumihimo braiding. All right, so if we were making a 7-inch bracelet, we would just take the cord off the spool. And then what we're going to do is just 25 inches. So it's 12, 18, 24, and 25, and then just cut it. And then you just pop your spools open like this. They're reusable. And I like to just hold the tip here and wind some without beads. Pop it shut. And now we need to preload our beads. And I'm not going to use a needle for this. I'm just going to have the S-Lon here and let it pick up. You can also, if you're choosing to use Amite, I find it's easy to pick up with Amite as well without a needle. So I would just put my 12 beads on, and I have some turquoise ones here waiting. So I'm just going to slip them on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see they're just there on the cord, and I'm going to let them just drop. They're going to sit against the bobbin there. Now we need 6 more. So 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then what I find is easier to do is I like my beads to hide away in my bobbin for now until I'm ready for them. So here you go, and then you just kind of wind them in there. You can see that. And then I leave a tail of around 12 to 15 inches, 12, 14 inches, something like that. You can see this tail. And now we're actually ready. So we're not going to be needing any more beads. We've already preloaded it. We can clear that off the table. We've got all our cords. I'm going to clear these, but these are the type of findings that you use to finish your braid. So we'll talk about that closer to the end. The 1G is going to be used for finishing as well with a needle, so we'll talk about that later too. But right now, we're ready to look at our disc and start to prep this. Okay, so you'll notice this is very, very different from your round disc. The round disc is just numbers all the way around. This one has numbers at the top, starting from 1 to 10, 11 to 20 are down at the bottom. You have uppercase letters, A to J on the left, and you have A to J lowercase on the right. And that's going to be really important. As we start this, it's going to be where you line up your cords. So bring your cords together. So you've got all your bobbins preloaded. They've got all their beads on there. And I want to mention too, for the 10 warp, what we're going to be doing is 6 of your strands are going to be one color, 4 are going to be your secondary color. You could do this project using just one spool of S-Lon and they're all the same color, and you don't have kind of this mottled pattern in here. It would just be a solid color. That's totally fine too. Once you get used to this, you can use more than 2 colors. I think this is just easiest to learn if we start with the 2 colors. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with 6 of the turquoise and 4 of the purple. Karen, great question. Why the ratio? So it's 10, and this is just visually so you can see it. You could definitely swap it up. You could use 5 different colors, 2 strands of each color. We're going to be starting with 6 strands up top, 4 at the bottom. So it's just easier to teach it and to be able to see it if we do them all in all the bottom strands in one color, the top strands in another color. That's also why I am coordinating the beads to match the cords so that it's just a little easier to kind of see what's happening. So, but great question, guys. Flat Kumihimo takes a few rotations to get used to. So anything we can do, I think, to make it a little visually easier to comprehend is good. Okay, so I'm just gonna line up my ends. You can see right here, I'm just pulling them. They're all on these bobbins. Oh, good, Debbie. I hope it's simple. If you guys need me to pause, let me know. I think I've said this before, round Kumihimo with the round braid is a little bit more, I think, intuitive. This can become like second nature. As I was making the sample, once I got a little ways in, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then you kind of can just keep going at it. You don't have to overthink it. But to begin with, it takes some thinking. I will definitely say that. Why 6 up top and 4 down? Why not 4 top and 6 bottom? You know, this is just the way that they're lined up so that you have these 2. So you have 6 up top because you're immediately taking 2 from the top and going to the side, which gives you 4 and 4. That's why you're starting with 6 up top. But I do think that there would probably be other ways to do this. This is the way that I learned how to do it, but you are going to very quickly go from 6, 4 to 4, 4, 1, 1. 12 beads are on each bobbin if you want to have about a 7-inch finished bracelet. Now, the beautiful thing is you could always go and add more beads later. You're not like committed to this. So if you get going, you can't add more cord later, but you can add more beads. So if you do run out of beads, you maybe cut your cord a little bit longer than you were originally thinking, and then you can always go back and add more beads. You know, we don't have weighted bobbins. I've never worked with them. I've heard of them, but I haven't worked with them. These are just plastic bobbins, but they do have a good weight to them. I love it, Debbie. I had to go back and do a refresher course on this one myself. Okay, so just a simple little knot, right? Just to keep all of our cords together. And what you want to do, which I didn't do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you want to make sure you have them all. I was missing one. So I'm going to tie this guy on here. So let's just see if I can undo this. It's funny, I did this exact same thing on my sample swatch. I think I'm so used to working with 8 bobbins, not 10, that I thought, oh, I've got them all. Okay, so you want to make sure you have all 10 of your strands here. And it's okay if these get tangled. We're going to sort them out here in just a minute. Okay, you want to bring them together. I'm just doing a quick check that I've got 10. We're just going to make our little knot and go through it and pull it tight. So this is your little starting knot. Now you're going to feed it through your disc. So it comes out the other side, and this is where you attach your gator weight. So it's just like this, and this is weighted. This has a nice heft to it, and it's got like an alligator clip right here. Oh, I love that. So Jill is saying I usually knot on a split ring and then attach my weight to it. So that's a great tip. Yeah, I love how we all share ideas, and I always do. I keep going back to the thought that there's more than one way of doing something, and I think that's wonderful. Okay, so you see that we've got that in there. This has gone through, so you can just kind of hold it now. And now what we're going to do is from the 3 to the 8, we're going to line up the turquoise cords. So we're just going to find some turquoise cords in here, and we're going to line it on up. See, that's just going right into that 8 slot. Oh, hello, Netta. I don't think you missed much. I think we were just talking about lining up our cords. And I kind of sort through these a little bit. It's okay, because we're going to eventually cut off that end. So then here, this one can go to the 3. And then you can kind of play with them. I wouldn't spend too much time though, unless you really want to, because like I said, that part's going to get cut off. The important thing is you have 6 up top, 4 at the bottom. But again, if you're doing this in a bunch of different colors, it doesn't have to be the same color up top. I just think this is going to be easier to see visually what's happening. Okay, and then we're just going to keep going till we have all of our turquoises up top. Okay, so that's what we've got up top. Now for the bottom, what we want to do is 14 through 17. So this is when these numbers really come into play. And this will be available as a replay. If you guys want to go back and rewatch later, this will be available as a replay. Okay, so we have this lined up. So I like to just tighten them. I just am pulling them from the back, giving them little tugs, if you can see that. So you can do that on both sides, just so that you have nice tight tension. Like we want to pull this cord down. You don't want any big gaps. Okay, so this is what we got. You kind of want this centered, but it's going to work itself out here. Okay, so if I'm gonna do my camera up a little bit here. These are way too long for me to work with. That's gonna get really tangled very quickly. So what I'm gonna do, this is stable now. I can just set this down, and I am just going to wind my cords up a little bit. So I don't know if we have the same colors of Eslon that we're using. That is a great question. I think we've got the turquoise. I think I found the pale purple in the Amiet brand, which is a really good other option to this. So that is one thing here as we do go through our closing sale. Some stuff is getting very limited in supply, so sometimes I have to choose like substitutions or put comparable items there in that shopping bag, just because I do know that we are running out, especially with the 40% off. Things are selling out a bit quickly. So, but great question. And then Megan and Thaisa can definitely hunt things down. If you're like, well, can you find me something that's similar to this or that? Put that in the comments here, and they're really good at searching the website and can try to find some stuff. Okay, so I'm just winding these up. And a couple of them, the beads kind of escaped up to the top. I'm okay with that. We're going to be putting those beads up anyways soon. So if you see now, I've just got one that's longer. So I'm just going to tighten that one up. Okay. All right. So now my cords are much shorter, which is going to be much easier to work with, and they're not going to get so tangled. So we are ready to do our actual braiding now. So it takes a little while to prep this, but I also wanted to take it step by step here. All right, so the way we're gonna start, and I'm gonna make this as easy to see as possible. Okay, so 6 up top, 4 at the bottom, 3 through 8 up top, 14 through 17 down at the bottom. We're going to start by taking the 5 braid out, or the 5 cords, the warp for number 5. We're taking it out and we're stretching it across to the lowercase e. Then we're going to take the 6 and we're going to stretch it across to the uppercase e. So now you have 4 up top, 4 at the bottom, 1 to each side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work our way on the left side, finish it up, work our way on the right side, finish it up, bring our strands back. So we're going to here take the 15 and we're going to stretch it up to the 5. Now we have a blank hole down here, so we can work our way over to the left. The 4 can go down to the 15. Now we have a blank hole up here, so the 14 can go up to the 4. And the 3 can now go down to the 14. So we just did the left side. Now we're going to do the right side. So we have a blank hole right here. So kind of look for the blank holes. That's the best way I can kind of describe it if you're feeling a little lost or anything or trying to remember what to do. 16 up to the 6. 7 is going to pull down to the 16. 17, see I'm just working my way to the right, is going to go up to that blank hole right there of the 7. And the 8 is going to come down to the 17. Then you're going to take the lowercase e up to the 8, the uppercase e up to the 3, and that was one full rotation. So that is your full rotation that you're going to do on repeat. And it's actually going to stay the same even when you add your beads, but I'll show you when and where and how to add the beads. But first we're going to do a little bit of braiding without beads, because that's what's going to give you, where's my sample? Definitely you wouldn't need this long of a piece, but that's what's going to give you the area that you can actually finish off and add your clasp to, because you're not going to be able to put a clasp over the beads. So you're going to need to braid at least, I would say, 1/4 of an inch without beads. This is way more than that, but I wanted to show you what the braid would look like. So that's just something to keep in mind. So we're going to do the same. So the 5, nothing's going to change from what we just did. 5 over to the lowercase e, 6 to the uppercase e. Now we're going to work our way to the left. So this is basically a blank hole. So the 15 up to the 5, the 4 down to the 15, the 14 up to the 4, the 3 down to the 14. Now we're going to work the right side. So the 16 up to the 6, the 7 down to the 16, that blank hole, the 17 up to the 7, and the 8 down to the 17. If you need to put it down, where do you need the warps to be? Great question. So if you were to put it down, I would do this. So we almost finished this rotation. I would bring my side e's up, because the lowercase e had to go up, and the uppercase e, and this is where I would walk away. So I would walk away like this with it in the starting position. So, oh, that Karen, that's weird. She's saying it's odd I can now chat but don't have a picture or sound. Oh no. Okay, I hope that stops glitching. So yeah, I would walk away here, and you're always going to know what's upright because you're going to have your top up here with the lettering. Whereas with this one, when you're always rotating it, you won't really know what's up or down. That's why we always end with the 3 strands up top on the round. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to repeat. So I'm going to do this maybe 2 more times with the non-braided, and then I want to get into showing how beads are added. And then what we'll do is we'll finish off the end of the sample swatch here instead of making a super big swatch. So let me just do a couple more non-beaded, and then let's talk about how to add beads. Okay, so same thing. 5 to the E, 6 to the E, work the left, 15 up to 5, 4 down to 15, 14 up to 4, 3 down to 14, 16 up to 6, 7 down to 16, 17 up to 7, 8 down to 17. Put your E's back in place up top, and there's a rotation. So it gets to go really fast. Once you get the hang of it and understand the sequence, it will start to work up really quick, which is one of the things we love about Kumihimo, is you get this really cool design, and it's pretty quick and something you can do on your lap. You can do it while you're watching TV. So all that good stuff. And I'm just going to keep doing this. And then you always bring those E's back to the top. And there's your starting position. Zen beading, yes. All right, so I want to see if we can see any of the flat braid yet coming through. All right, so you can start, if you really look in there, you can start to see the braid. And it's kind of interesting because it forks. When you're actually doing the braid, it almost is creating like this. And you're thinking, this isn't working. Something's wrong. I'm missing the middle. But it all comes together at the end, which is really cool. So I'm going to do just one more without beads, and then we're going to add those beads. But you would do a little bit more than this, but I do want to be able to show how to add the beads, and I know that we've got a lot to cover here today. So I'm doing a little smaller sample swatches. Oh, thank you for the hearts. All right, so that's my last one without beads. I know, Netta, it is intimidating to start. I will fully admit that. Once you get the hang of it though, it really does start to click. Just think about like working from left, do your left side and your right side. And then that helped me a lot to think about it. Okay, so we are gonna add beads now. So what we need to do is we need to go to our bobbins and we need to release some beads while still keeping our cord on here. So we're gonna push this down so I can show you a little clearer. So basically I'm just gonna open up a bobbin. I'm not taking it off of my disc. I'm just going to let some of these beads slide down and then rewind my bobbin so it's not too long. So I wanna make sure that every bobbin has some beads on it that are slid down. Doesn't have to be all the beads. You can always go and do this again later. So just whatever you're comfortable with, especially if you're doing like a wrap bracelet and maybe you have like 30 beads on each bobbin, it might be a lot to have them all hang in there. Okay. Okay, so those all have beads. Okay, let me just release some beads here. That has some beads. That one needs some. Yeah, the replay will help, and it's going to be available here. Once we say goodbye for today, it becomes available pretty quickly. So that's nice if you want to rewatch. But this is definitely one where you'll want to rewatch and see like which number goes to which to begin with. Okay. All right, so I think I've got them all. Let me look. Let's tilt the camera back up. All right. Yes, you could do this with round or flat leather cord. Your only limitation is going to be what is going to fit into your grooves and what is going to fit through your center hole. So just kind of like the round one where we say, you know, you can use different size beads and whatnot, just what's going to fit through your hole at the end of the day. That's going to be the same for this. But yeah, you could do round or flat leather cord. You can do silk ribbons. You can do all sorts of different cords for sure. All right, so this is what we've got. You see all those bobbins with the beads, and the beads are just hanging on there. So these are acting as bead stoppers right now so that your beads don't fall off. So we are ready to now do beaded flat kumihimo. All right, so we're gonna start the same way. So actually nothing changes in our technique. We add one tiny little step of slipping a bead down at the end of our rotation. So start the same way. 5 over to the E. No beads are being used right now. 6 over to the uppercase E. 15 up to the 5. 4 down to the 15. 14 up to the 4. 3 down to the 14. The left side is done. Now we see we have a gap up here, so that we just take the 16 up to the 6, the 7 down to the 16, the 17 up to the 7, and the 8 down to the 17. Now we're ready to add our beads. We only add beads here for this look. So if you want to have it where it's beads on the outside edge, this is how you achieve it. There are ways of doing beads throughout the braid, beads just in the center. You can kind of go wild with this and you can experiment too. So this is the technique for doing beads on the outer edge. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick up your strand and you're just going to grab a bead, just one bead, and let it slip down. And then just put it where it's supposed to go, up there at the 8. We're not changing the placement at all. We're just slipping a bead down before we put it up. Same thing here. Take the E, take a bead, let it slide down into the well, and go up to the 3. And that rotation is done, but we just added a bead. Now what's nice is you don't have to worry about these catching anything because they're gonna catch when you do the rest of your braiding here. We're gonna spot check and make sure they're catching properly, but it's not like the round where it's like every time you have to kind of check and make sure it catches under a thread bridge. Oh, that's a great idea. Karen, yeah, I can figure that one out too. So in another show, figure out how to put beads in the center. That would be really fun. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back, same thing. So the 5 to the E, the 6 to the E, the 15 up, the 4 down, the 14 up, the 3 down, then we do the right side, do the same thing. All right, so I wanna show you what's happening here though. So we just did almost the full rotation, but look, the beads are being caught on their own, which is very handy. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna slip down another bead. Every time you pull it from an E when you're doing the beaded, you just slip a little bead down there and you just let it slide and it can just hang out there. And then you're gonna do the same thing with this side. Let it just slip and hang out there. So this is what we've got. That rotation is done. And now we've got 2 beads along the edge. I love it. Maybe call it flat 2.0. Yes, that would be really fun. Okay, so now the same thing. And so your technique never changed really from flat non-beaded to flat beaded, which is nice. So you don't have to learn a different technique. And the only time the beads come into play are on those side panel ones, those side strands. Okay, so I'm gonna do a couple here so we can kind of start to see this just take shape. And then what we can do is we can go over to the sample and show how to finish it. So like right here, this one looks like it might be catching, it might not be catching. You can always just push it down if you feel like it's not caught enough. And that's quite fine too. You can always just push it on down. Okay, so now we're ready to add our next one. And go up, and that rotation is done. If you ever need to adjust, oh, so this one popped off. That's really good that it happened here because we can fix that. Unless I got to chatting and mix something up. Did I get to chatting? Okay, let's see. So that one needed to go down. Oh, you know what that is? That one. Where did that one come from? Okay, let's see if we can backtrack this a little because I think one popped off. I'm gonna try to backtrack this just a little. You're supposed to catch up. I could be totally messing this up, guys. I probably am. Where did that bead come from? All right, so we did have a bead that popped off that I did not catch in time. So he might be a little problem for us right here. So you know what? Sometimes we say in these lives when things happen like that, it's good because it lets us try to troubleshoot. Trying to figure out how to back out of that to do it. That's the only thing with Kumihimo. It can be a little bit of a mind bender to try to figure out how to go backwards. Okay, so he's stuck there. All right. All right, I'm gonna try to just continue and see what happens. I'm gonna say be smarter than I was and pay closer attention that all your beads are securely catching under it. Because I think that was my problem. I think I didn't double check as I was going before I went on to the next one. So if you don't want that to happen, what I would do is just each rotation, make sure that your beads caught how they were supposed to catch. So we're just gonna keep going. That's gonna be a little blippy right there. And then we're gonna go on to the finishing technique, which is very different than the finishing technique for round. So I wanna show it for sure. Okay. All right, and then when we do this, that's the last one I'll show, and then we're gonna go on to the finishing. Okay, so again, we've done all of our things. This is the last step. That little bead slides down. This little bead, and I'm just pulling it up from the little catch here that it's got and letting it sit down, and that completes that rotation, and then you just continue. this will be our last one. And then I'll talk you through how to pull it off of here, because I won't be able to show that without spending quite a lot more time doing beading, which I'm not quite sure we have time for in this live. Okay, so what you're gonna do is when you are done with your beaded portion, let's say we had done a nice 7-inch beaded portion, right? This is our last bead on it. Then what you're gonna do is you are going to repeat the non-beaded braid section like I did here in the sample. And you don't need more than like 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch at most, whatever you're comfortable with to be able to really hold on to. So you're just gonna then go back to your braiding without beads. So same technique. But on that last step of your rotation, you're not going to slip a bead. So you'll just go like this. So you'll finish your rotations. And then when you get to those E's, those side panels, you just put them up. So you just did a rotation without beads. And you're gonna keep doing that until you have enough of this non-beaded section to stitch into. Oh yeah, I can see little earrings too. That would be really cute. Well, because what we need is we need to take this braid and turn it into a usable piece of jewelry. So we have to have a way of attaching some sort of finding to it. So this is what I want to show you now. So once you've done that, you can take your braid off of your disc here. What I found was really helpful, and let me see if I could like kind of show this, is I took my gator weight off and I actually pinched my braid with the gator weight, and then I just pulled it off of my disc here. So you can definitely do that. Then you can easily tie a knot, and you know your braid is not going to unravel as you are tying a knot. So I found that really handy. So you're gonna do that. You're gonna make it as long as you want, and then you're gonna end up with a piece that has 2 knots on the end. And this one's already been finished, but I'm gonna show you how you'd finish the other side. So what you're gonna do, let me get the camera right. So these are the findings. Now, only these ones here, I think, are currently available here at Beadaholique, because we are, like I said, we are doing the closing sale. So with that 40% off, things are selling out really quickly. But you might have in your stash other ones that look like this, different sizes, different textures, different colors. These are ribbon pinch crimp ends is usually how these are referred to, ribbon pinch crimp ends. So what you'll do is you're going to measure, because you might be using a different material. Maybe you are using leather cord, maybe you're using silk ribbon. You're going to measure the length across. Now this happened to just be a happy stance where this is 6 millimeters across and this is 6 millimeters across. So that is the size for this one, which is really handy to know if you are using Eslon, because we often use Eslon for our Kumihimo braid, so that's really nice. So I'm going to be using this little guy right here. Oh, that would be fun. Okay, Karen, I like that idea. Sometimes show how to turn Kumihimo into earrings. That would be really fun. Okay, because you could take these little crimps and then you could add little dangles. So you could have like a Kumihimo piece and then cute little dangles or crystals. There's a lot you could do. All right, so I'm going to be using 1G. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna cut a length of it. And I think I pre-did this. Yes, I did. All right, so I put on just my regular beading needle and I doubled it. So I thought that was just as easy. It made it a little bit thicker. So I just doubled it, and now I'm just gonna tie a little knot. So it's a double strand. It doesn't have to be. I like having it as a double strand, but you don't have to. Okay, so just got a little knot at the end. And we can trim right here. And what we're going to do is we are going to stitch. So we are going to stitch a straight-ish line right across here. Now you can see that you could see my thread on this side. What's nice is 1G comes in a ton of thread colors. So you can easily match your thread to your braiding cord. I want to use black though for the contrast so we can see what's happening. So you would just decide, well, where do you want your clasp? I'm going to put it down here. It's just going to be easier to see. But you could put yours right up closer here. So you maybe stitch right here if you wanted it to go right into the beads, but you don't want your clasp to overlap your beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from the bottom up through my braid, and I'm just going to stitch. And I'm actually trying to go through and pierce the S-line a little bit. I want this to be secure. Okay, so you can see I'm just going across. And this is another thing, there are different ways of doing this. I've seen tape used where you actually tape your end and then you cut through the tape, and you use a lot of glue when it comes time to put on your ribbon pinch crimp end. So that I've seen done. I've seen also, you know, you could try to do a pinch crimp end that would fit over a knot. So you have a lot of different things that you could experiment with. This, I think, is a pretty easy technique and universal, so I like this one. Yeah, the only time piercing the thread is good. I would agree with that. Usually we're like, no, don't pierce the thread. All right, so you can see my little black stitches. Now I'm to the end. I'm going to go around the end. So I want it to loop around the side. It does mean that you see my thread more, but I feel like it anchors that side end piece. Okay, and now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna stitch again because I know I didn't get all of my cords. So you can see I'm just going up through. Just continuing on my pathway here, kind of going over the same area I've already done, but trying to keep it as straight as possible. And now I'm on this end, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to loop around so that I actually go around the outside edge to try to secure that. And you can see my knot where I started. And now I'm going to go back again. You can even look at your backside and be like, well, is there some area that doesn't look like it's been pierced or doesn't look secure? And you can go through that. And hopefully, you know, you probably have like a 1G around. You probably have needles that you've used for other projects. So you can use that for this too. Yes, I think you could, Jill. Couldn't you glue it and then cut it off or thread zap it and then put the clasp on? Yes, I think you probably could. You could probably do like a nice line of a pretty thick glue, let it fully dry, and then you could like cut through the glue. I think you could. That's what I love about these lives, is we're always thinking of different ways of doing things, which is great. Because this is a little time consuming when you're stitching it like this. Could you use sewing thread? Yep, sure could. You're basically just needing to stitch this in place. I'm thinking that this is probably nice and secure. It's not beautiful. It's gonna get covered in a clasp anyways. So I'm not too worried. As long as I didn't stitch for too much width, that wouldn't get covered. But if you used a matching thread as opposed to this contrasting one, you really wouldn't have to worry about that much either. Okay, so once we've done this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go under and tie a knot. So I just got a little knot. Could definitely use sewing thread for sure. Do another little knot. Just need to go under a thread bridge. It's not like there's not thread here. All right, there we go. All right. Okay, so we've got that stitched. We've got a nice line. Hopefully I caught everything in there. I'm just gonna trim my thread. Now I wanna trim it pretty close because this has to fit into a pretty tiny little crimp end. Okay. Okay, so now what we can do is, hopefully this is secured, and we're gonna trim it off. So you see I'm cutting on this side. I used a double thread just to give me more thickness. It just gave me a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more of a substantial line. You don't have to. So that is, you know, again, it's a personal preference. So you see the ends that are beyond the stitch line do start to unravel a little bit. So what you can do is you can trim those a little bit. Okay, and just make sure it's nice and trimmed up. And then what we're going to be doing is we are going to be using this little guy right here. And this is what it looks like. It's got these little teeth, and it's got a nice little ring on it that we'll be able to attach a jump ring to. And then I like using glue as well. You don't have to. E6000 I think works really well here. Can you zap them? Yeah, you should be able to zap them too. Just gonna put down a little bit of glue. And be careful not to put too much glue because see, this is a hole right here. If you look inside there, that is a hole. So if you put too much glue in, it's just gonna spill out that hole and it's gonna get over, you know, kind of get on things. So I'm just gonna take a little bit, I'm gonna put it on the inside wall. Here we go. So you see, I just put it on the inside wall. You could put it on both inside walls if you like. So I'm not touching the glue at all. And now you can either do this with your hands or you can put this in a pair of pliers. And we are just going to slide that in over our threads. And see how you really see that black thread? I definitely encourage you to use a thread that matches. So what you can do is you can try to tuck those ends in right now before you crimp it, or you can go back and trim them off later. And now you have to pinch it because it's not secured. It's just sitting on there. So we're gonna go in with our chain nose pliers and we're gonna pinch it shut. And I like to go from all sides. And then you can go back in with a zapper, you can go back in with scissors, you can go back in even with like your toothpick and push in any little bits that are coming off. You can go in with a little bit more glue if you like, and tidy that up as well. And then once it's tidied up, it will look more like that. But again, you do see the thread. So this is a case where you would want to match it. But that then is how you finish your flat kumi braid. And then what you can do is you can just take like a jump ring. This is just a little 4mm jump ring. And, oh, a zapper is like a thread zapper. So it's nice for like burning ends or cutting your thread with a thread burner. And so then what you can do is you just go in with your jump ring and then you can attach your clasp. So then you can do a lobster clasp, a spring ring, a magnetic, whatever you want to do. Or if like we were talking about making earrings, this is where you could hang a dangle, you can hang the earring hook. So you have lots of different choices. But that is flat 10 warp beaded Kumihimo. It's a mouthful. All right, guys, I am going to pop my camera back up here in just a minute. Let me get this a little sorted on this end. And then thank you to Thaisa for joining us and Michelle for the help. It was so good to have that support. Oh, thank you guys for the hearts. Okay, let me get this sorted. I always stand when I do this, so I always have to kind of sort things out here on this end for a minute. Yes, I do, Sandra, you're right. I do have almost this exact same technique as a YouTube video that's standalone. So you guys can definitely watch that and pause that. And then there's separate videos that we have for attaching the ends as well. So that's a good one too, is, you know, you can always go back and watch those videos as well. All right, guys, let me pop this open. Quick reminder, if you do have anything in your shopping cart, to make sure to check out so you can get your goodies. And then everything is 40% off, which is really nice. 13 years ago. I know, Sandra, so long ago. All right, thank you, guys. All right, so this is what it looks like. Okay, so there is our braid so you can kind of see what it would look like on the arm. I like the idea of the earrings. I think that would be really pretty too. You actually see those beads from far away, which is nice. Oh, thank you, Debbie. All right, so that was fun. This is flat beaded 10 warp Kumihimo. Yay! All right, everyone have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again on Thursday. All right, bye everyone. And this replay becomes available just very shortly after we say bye-bye. So if you want to go back, rewatch, pause it when we're talking about what goes where, definitely that's a resource to take advantage of. Oh, thank you, Jill. Bye, guys. I will see everyone. Oh, when are you doing a multi-strand bracelet? Ooh, I don't know. I'll have to do one soon. Okay, I'll think about that, Tracy. That'll be fun. I still have to figure out what I'm doing on Thursday, so maybe that will be it. We'll see. All right, bye.